Okay, so I'm going to, purpose of this particular recording is I'm going to walk through the paper, the case study paper we're putting together. So I'm going to kind of walk through. We have um, the basic components we have out here. So but what I want to do is I'll walk through the template and basically what I'm looking to get done. Okay. So, so the original cases we laid it out was you're the CISO for a school. Board of Trustees has expressed concerns about the ability to deal with potential threats to the IT organization. They approach you, request a program to identify, uh, what we have out there, some of the threats, the degree of risks, and what we would do to mitigate those risks. Okay. Um, so what we're going to use. All right, that was kind of our starting point. Now, what I've actually done, I'm kind of made a couple adjustments as we go through this, because I think the thing I'd like to bring forward is the idea of the using of a couple things. Number one is um, introduce the concepts, basically what's in the NIST documents and how we can use them. Okay. Um, but also kind of the process we'll go through, if you get tasked with doing something like this, how we will go, how you should approach it. All right. So with that, let's launch into this then. Okay. All right. So a couple things we have here. All right. So I did um, NIST special publication 834. I took a quick gander at that. All right. Within that, we have Appendix B of this. Right? And what this is the business impact analysis and BIA template. All right, so we're going to kind of, in effect, you can, I didn't call that, in the original definition, I didn't necessarily call that as a business impact analysis, but in effect it is a business. You can kind of go back and forth, risk assessment versus business impact analysis. So we're going to BIA, contingency planning. All right, so within the NIST Special Publication 834, Release 1, in Appendix B, there is basically a template for creating a BIA. All right. So what I've done is I've gone back and I have created. I've gone out and actually have copied it out, and I did some fine tuning on this. All right. So this is the one I want you to use. So it's the BIA paper, the template. Click that. You'll download it. And take a look at it. Okay, so what this is the template from the NIST document. All right. If you look, you'll have, there's some words, there's some things in here that are in italics, and other things are just basic text. All right. So the idea is we're actually going to use this, as this is going to be our document, and what we're going to do is we're going to fill in where, where we would, the details for what we have. All right. So, like for example, we will take this out, so you don't need that. All right. Completion date. Look through, say system. I will put this in here. Okay, so everything here um, that is not italics, we're going to use. So this is the document, all right? So in real life, and this is what we do in real life. Now we'll go out, we'll have a template model build up, and then what we'll do is we'll come back in and just add the specific information um, we need. All right. So a couple things a couple things I've put in here. So anything we've got in italics, you have to change that. We'll call it VF Mac because we're saying it's for the school, so we'll just call it VF Mac. Okay, so all that is. Now what I've done is I've simplified this a little bit. All right, because what happens is um, we've got in real life. What happens is if you have a complete disaster, you'll either have like a recovery site or some sort of contingency plan about where you would recover your systems to. So what I've done is I've created a couple of assumptions within this. So number one is the applications listed are running on the technical infrastructure that has been identified. Um, we've pre-assigned, or we basically have assigned a location that we're going to be using to do our recovery, and we've also got made arrangements for hardware, both servers and networking, to be there, all right, within 24 hours of a disaster. All right, so we're going to kind of take that as a given. Ordinarily, what you all have within these types of plans, as you get more detailed into it, is basically you need to identify how we're going to do that. All right, but we're going to make that as an assumption. Also, for simplicity's sake, access to the internet is handled through major network providers who are responsible for reestablishing connections to the recovery center. So basically, we've simplified that quite a bit. All right, so we don't have to go through a lot of exercises. We don't have to go through a big exercise in reestablishing our network. Uh, System backups are run on a scheduled basis and are stored off-site nightly, and then backup tapes will be transferred to the recovery center and the declaration of a disaster. All right, so basically that's our kind of our planning assumptions going in. So a lot of the stuff is there. So what we need to do is take a look at our applications and infrastructure. So where's that at? If you recall, a couple weeks back, we had this PowerPoint. And what we did is we really called everything out. So what we did is we identified these, basically kind of an introduction here, identified the applications, the network technology, the servers, and kind of a picture. And so all these pieces are here. All right. So, and then for our applications, we have basically different applications that are in use. All right. So, from our paper perspective, what we're going to do is we're going to take this out. And what we're going to do is we're basically going to put this in. And we're going to actually just kind of cut and paste the slides, content of the slides, into kind of this space here. We'll take that sentence out. So a lot of this stuff is the exercise we're going through right now is really kind of a cut and paste. Because we do a lot, we end up doing a lot of this. But this work here, there's a lot of work that would go into identifying all this stuff and making sure we have um, all this information that's out there. Okay, so got that, and we'll take that. Next line. Okay, so this gives you, and so I'm not going to do all the slides, but you get an idea of what this section will look like. All right. So we have the applications, and then we'll have the technical infrastructure. We put networking, servers, in kind of a pretty picture of this. All right. So we can just kind of take it, just wrap some words around it, kind of introduce it. So we'll put that out there. Right. So now, as we move this along, so we've identified, so we have all the applications, we have all of the applications, all the technical infrastructure. All right. Take this out. What we're going to do is step one of the processes is really identify all of the applications. All right, as you can do this a couple different ways. You can do it by process or business process. We know what are the business processes. We're going to kind of combine processes into applications. All right, so what we need to do is basically for every application we identify up here, we want to list it. And we want to give a little description. We just kind of, so this is these are the applications we've identified. So you're an accounting application, an accounts receivable, academic applications. So all we want to do is we'll take every one of these. So I put an example of Moodle out there. Just you can be. So this is kind of a model, so you can if you want to be creative around the descriptions of the applications, go nuts. Okay, so we're gonna. So the first step is kind of list all of our take all of our applications from our overall description here, put it into our table here. All right. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to develop an estimate of the impacts. All right. So the idea is, okay, here's all of our applications. What's important? If we lose something, what is the business? What is the impact on our operations? All right. So you can kind of, this is, and this is really driven by situation. So obviously, if you're doing this for a school, you maybe weigh things differently than if you're doing it for a chemical company. All right, but take this out. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is severe. So we're going to impact. We're going to identify all these applications. And what we want to do is we want to basically put together. So for for every application we've identified up here. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to put it. We're going to put an entry in the table, and we're going to mark it as whether it is the impact on the organization is, you know, severe, moderate, or minimal. All right? And you can look at the applications, and this is going to be an exercise where you kind of look at it and kind of think about, if you're, if you're running a school, what do you think would be the most important application? All right. Given where we're at in the 21st century, things like Moodle, the academic support, is very big. Things like collaboration applications, also very big. All right, and really what you do is we're gonna sort them. We're kind of put an impact in it. This is kind of an impact analysis of it. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to create another table here. We're going to basically take the same information we have here. We're going to create this table. We're going to punch it into this table here. All the applications. But what we're going to do is we're going to put an estimate here of basically what is the maximum time these systems can be down. So we can as we prioritize these things, the severe impact ones, what we can do is we can say severe impact. Basically, and the three metrics we have is what we call maximum tolerable downtime, which is the total amount of time organization is willing to accept a outage or disruption. All right. Recovery time perspective is how long we expect to actually do the recovery, and then the recovery point objective is basically when we bring the system back up, how what will it basically what is the point in time it will represent. And what will happen is it should be from the last backup. All right, so the existing system. So you take a backup, you do all this work, right, system crashes. All the work you did is gone. All right, all of the data that wasn't backed up is gone, but you have it on the backup tape. So the backup tape will take you back, say, 12 hours. All right, so the idea is, and some of the stuff we can, just when you kind of think about it, but we're kind of making it up as we go. So we're not doing this as exact. There's not an exactitude, but the idea is that you get an idea for each application. We think about it as, what is the maximum time? So we're saying right now for Moodle, we'll use this as an example, is that 72 hours is, if we're without Moodle for 72 hours, which I think is 3 days. Or you can make it up. And the metric is hours. All right, so you can kind of figure out how many days. And then, basically, how long do you think it's going to take to actually recover it? All right, because what we're doing is we're taking all of this whole, all these different applications and all these different systems and stuff, and we're kind of, saying, okay, what's the most important? What's the second most important? Third most important? Down the line, force ranking it. All right. So that will take us down to our next site here, our resource requirements. All right. So here is kind of where we combine the applications to the technical infrastructure. All right. So we'll use it for an example here. Here's a kind of our big picture here. All right. So the technical, so we have database servers, web servers, backup servers, remote access, app domain. So remember, our assumption is all of this stuff is going to be set up, be available for us, so we don't have to set this up. All right. The DMZ would be made available when we would have a network. All right. So the thing we're going to really be looking at is really the servers. What servers do we need to make these applications run? We can make some assumptions. A lot of the stuff is we will make some assumptions around these applications of how they're designed. So you can be, we can be fairly pretty flexible within that. But basically what we are going to be doing is for each application, we will identify what platforms. So in this case, we'll say for the Moodle application, we'll need, say, 2 web servers and a database server. All right. And then you can also put in networking, your network access. I mean, you can just, think about these. You kind of make some stuff up on these applications. All right. But, and a description of what it is. So it's kind of it's, basically it's each step we go through embellishes and adds information to this. All right. So that's so this is where we're kind of attaching the application to the hardware. So if we look at our document here, these are the applications, and this is the hardware. So we kind of put these two together. And then finally, what we're going to do is we're going to take all of this data and we're going to sort it into priority. So what's going to be up? So basically, what systems are going to get started? What's going to be the recovery time? Basically, how long is it going to take before that system is up? What our estimate of how long that's going to take. So it's kind of transposing the information we have from the higher level and sorting it into the exact order. So part of what you're going to want to do is, and I kind of did it, I did an example here. So this is kind of my approach on this. Right? And once again, you're free to make your own assumptions around it, but you might want to make sure that just kind of look at it, make sure it kind of makes sense, because remember, we're doing this for a school. So what I'm saying is basically what I've identified as the first things we're going to want to do is reestablish communications of our collaboration applications. Is the first thing. So people send email and our access to our desktop automation stuff. All right. So that's kind of would be one. All right. And then number two, since we're a school, academic support. So Moodle. All right. Next one would be accounting, because obviously it's money. And billing, accounts receivable. What is the most important things? What can you get? What can you? So I've forced ranked these into, and what you can probably, what I'd like you to do is description. Within the description, just put a kind of a brief statement of why you think it's the most important. What kind of is there a justification? Description of it, and then what would be the justification for why it's number one. Yeah, there are no wrong answers on this. All right, so this is going to be a matter of, but whatever you put out there, just we want you to put a little thought into it, so it's just not taking the list of applications that are out there and. Okay, so that is, so when we have that, then basically this paper is done. All right, so that'll be, so by the time we put everything into it, it'll probably be 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. By the time we fill by the time we fill all the tables out and kind of add out, and we add out all of our information about the our system descriptions and our data collection and all that stuff. It'll probably be about papers will be about maybe 5 or 6 pages. But it's really this process. The trick is really the process we go through to go through it. So the idea is, and in real life, this is what we do. We don't necessarily go back and write these things from the ground up. We have working templates we bring in as a starting point, which carries a lot of the basic, kind of the core framework of stuff. And then what we do is we'll go back and we'll gather the information that's relevant and put it into the paper. So you have a standardized approach, a standardized model. Okay, so so that's as I said, a quick demonstration of kind of what this is, kind of what I'm looking for with the paper. So it's not quite like writing an entire paper from the ground up. It's really kind of walk you through, an analysis of the business impact and kind of how we assemble this stuff and things of that nature. Okay. So questions, just give me a yell, and we'll keep moving forward. All right. Talk to you a bit. Bye.